Hi, welcome back to my kitchen garden. I'm back out in the greenhouse and taking a look over the pepper plants. And one of the things I like to do right about now is prune back some of the top leaves or top stem of the peppers. You can see a couple days ago, or maybe about 4 or 5 days ago, I pruned back right at the top here. There was the stem went up another couple inches or another inch, and I just cut it back, and I kind of stopped the growth at that point. And what's happened is the energy of the plant has come back and it's starting to sprout these other little leaves. And this will make it for a much bushier plant, but it'll also make more peppers. It'll continue to grow up, get higher, but more of it will go wide than it will high. I've grown these before. This is a cayenne, and they turn into like a little bush. And sometimes they get a little bit out of hand because you've got to stake them and they get really high. But they do produce quite a bit, especially if you can prune them at this stage. And continue doing it. Tomatoes will prune, but when they're already planted in the ground. And we'll go over pruning a little bit more once I have them planted out in the garden. In this bed I've got carrots all planted. It'll be a while before they start popping their head up. Over here we've got some planters with some acorn squash, one of my mom's favorites. Some of the fruit trees are starting to bud. Leaves are coming out there. I'll show you the peach tree. It's really starting to flower. Well, it's a beautiful day here at my kitchen garden, and we've been busy. I've been planting a lot of seeds and pulling some things out of the greenhouse. You can see in front of me I've got some tomato plants that are out. I'm trying to harden a lot of what I had in the greenhouse, kind of pulling them out a little bit, putting them back in. I think that for the next few nights I'm just going to leave them out before I plant them in the ground. You want to harden them so that the stems get a little hard, they get used to the wind, temperature range can change. Another thing you can do is not water or fertilize them for at least several days. Kind of keep an eye on them. I do most of that, but generally I just get a feel for when a good time to pull them out and then gradually bring them out. You kind of have to feel the weather, see what it's going to be like. Obviously you don't want to pull it out in a storm or when the weather's going to be really bad, but you also want to have options so that if it all of a sudden dips in temperature, you can still pull them in. I go usually about mid-May, and I feel pretty comfortable about putting things in the ground. Or what I'm going to do with a lot of the pepper plants is just transplant them, because they'll continue to grow in a larger pot. And then it'll give me options too to where I want to put them in the garden. Now let's take a look around, see what's been planted. We've got some butternut squash. Bethany planted those yesterday. They'll spread out. I just usually let them go through the whole yard. Right now we've got shade down in this area, but as the months go on, the sun will hit that almost all day. One of the important things about your garden is you need to know where the sun's going to be at what months. I've been doing this long enough at this garden that I know there's a tree right up here. I don't want to get this in the sun. But this tree right here is the cutoff point. And usually around April is when it's starting to kind of crop over the top of the tree and hit the garden. Obviously lower in the yard it doesn't do that yet. And then of course as we get towards June, we're going to get, the sun's going to be really high in the sky, and later in the months. So you can see the pepper plants I've got out. Got onions in, the arugula and the microgreens are coming up. They're doing really well. In this bed I have Swiss chard, scallions, leeks, kohlrabi, daikon, and cherry bell radishes. They're all kind of poking their heads above the ground, starting to soak in some sun. Garlic, I think, is doing well. I'm not too confident on how well the other garlic. It's a different variety I'm growing this year. We'll see. Looks kind of yellowish. May have to cut that short if I can put something else in there. If I can't save it, then I'll just do that. Over here I've got some summer squash. These are called green eggs. They're kind of like little zucchinis in the shape of an egg. They're great on the grill. I've also done the same thing. They're called golden eggs. I highly recommend them. These are lemon drop squash. They're similar but yellow. I've never grown them before. More acorn squash. Down here I have spaghetti squash. Here I have these green beans that have Vortex. I think these are by far my favorite, and they taste the best. They grow really well. Here I have the loofah. And I think I'm going to plant the loofah here. And I was going to plant cucumbers, but I'll plant cucumbers somewhere else. I actually started some cucumbers in the greenhouse yesterday, and that'll give me some options to where to plant it. I've got some ideas of doing some trellises between garden beds. But these loofah are doing well, that I want to get them in the ground soon. And then I think I showed you this before. It was some shelling peas and snow peas. They're just peeking their heads out. Right there, right there. Another one, a couple. Promising. And some small strawberry plants. And then this is the peach tree. You can see those blossoms. And the bees have been out here pollinating. We've got another cherry tree here starting to flower. This one hasn't started yet. Those are the apricot and anticote. They're not flowering yet. A lot of it just follows the sun. And today I put up my bee hotel. Mason bees. They live alone. They're a solitary bee. And they apparently are 95% effective pollinator compared to regular honeybees, and they don't sting. So we're going to invite them to stay here.